Bills fans, what's up? It's been a little while. Week one. Now we're on to week five, and the Bills are 3-1, and their only loss coming by 1 point away in Carolina. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Wins, big wins. One AFC, one NFC win, but the caliber of opponent is what's stark about this. It's not just them beating a Cleveland team and maybe a down and out indie team. Um, it's a completely different feel and tenor. And before I really get started, I want to play you something, and keep in mind who it's coming from and what his message about the Bills and their organization has been. If you follow him on Twitter or heard him on CBS radio or on CBS prior or post game, when anytime it ever came to the Bills at any point in time in the last 4 years, I'd say. Take a listen.
All right, so let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. One of the big surprises through the first month of the regular season. This is a team that defensively, you can tell, has had an uptick. A lot of the same guys. How much has changed with their new head coach, Sean McDermott?
I think everything's changed. This term "changing the culture" gets overused in the NFL, and it's a cliche, but that really is the apt way to put what's going on there. I mean, you had a sort of miserable regime there with Rex Ryan and Doug Whaley at each other's throats, constantly sort of making end runs against each other and playing this passive-aggressive game of chicken over the roster and certain players. You had individuals like Sammy Watkins, who not so many actions of his own, but just had become divisive because he was the GM's favorite player, but he wasn't available on a lot of Sundays. And how do you invest that much money in a guy who's hurt that much? And, you know, you had sort of these players who become sort of bones of contention. And they cleaned house. Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, they cleaned house as much as they could. They were willing to be very bold in how they reshaped that roster. And they made it clear that the old way is not professional grade. And the circus atmosphere that you guys got used to here that you thought might be normal, if you're a young NFL player, you might have thought some of that stuff was normal. Well, it's not. And this is the new normal. And if you can't cope with it, we'll find somebody who can. And there is an energy there. There's a purpose. Watch McDermott on the sidelines, how engaged he is, how much sort of confidence he's trying to instill in his players from the opening kickoff to the final whistle. They've really changed their culture. And I don't know that it's going to carry them, all the way to the playoffs or anything like that. I will say that division looks surprisingly up for grabs. But the playing, McDermott is at his heart a secondary coach, and they let Gilmore go, and they traded Darby, and the secondary is the strength of the team. So there's certainly some coaching going on there. I like Tyrod Taylor. I think he can do a lot worse than him. They don't have weapons in the passing game, but they can run the ball, and Tyrod can create some plays for them, and they're playing really good defense. So I think they're going to certainly exceed expectations. And, look, the Patriots might keep the Bills in contention.
We're spending a few minutes with Jason Lockenfora. Already picked his brain about some of the different injuries, the quarterback change in Chicago. But, Jason, I got to ask.
Okay, guys, that was it. Jason Lockenfora. If, for most of you, I'm sure you've seen anytime it was something, and it was probably true. Bones of contention about different little players. And it wasn't even big players. It was the difference between, to be quite honest, it was Fred or Reggie Bush. And there's certain, like Whaley and Brandon wanted Bush. And the coaching staff wanted Fred. They were slated to bring back Carlos, but he failed a drug test, and then the team didn't. The coaching staff didn't want him, and then there was the year prior. It was Castle, and I know this is all old app, but little things like this you can see. or oh no, the organization force fed EJ down their throat as the backup quarterback. So, and then, obviously with the newer people coming in, being McDermott first, obviously, every week till his trade, asking, oh, how's Watkins' foot? How's his injury? How's he doing? This and that every week. And again, for a player that they haven't brought in, don't know, and probably aren't going to pay, who knows? Maybe enabled, felt and made to feel entitled by the prior regime. And as Jason alluded to, these players that have been embedded there for so long because that's all they know, these new people come in, and the organization has fostered this dysfunction for so long that they were like, look, this isn't the way shit has, when things are run correctly, this isn't the way it goes down. This isn't the order of things. Or as McDermott likes to say, the process. I was going to try not to use that word, but I couldn't help it. It's just not. And you're either part of it or you're not. And we've seen more not than are, because I think there was a number of players that were just brought in and they almost felt beholden to by the Bills organization. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that was always the impression that they were given by those who used to be there, that were the higher ups, and that's no more. Do you think McDermott likes going up there now and answering questions about Marcel Darius' commitment to the team in his 6th, 7th year in the league? His attention to detail, his focus, being switched on all the time, your highest paid player, $100 million player, just assed out, only getting 29 snaps. I can guarantee you this. As long as the Bills are under the care of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, there will not be a $100 million defensive lineman ever again that we see. And we've seen two in the last, we saw two inside of 3 years. Mario Williams, Marcel Darius. Do they have a common thread? Yeah. Once they got their money, I know Mario put forth a couple of good years. One very good year with the Bills. One very, very good year. And Darius totally just went in the tank after he got his money. He just seems like he's checked out. I don't know what to expect of the guy this week in Cincinnati. I mean, I can understand him limiting his snap count off of an injury, but as per all these little, nicks and dings that he turns up with is ridiculous. I don't get it. But not to just harp on those things, the fact that this team is still winning, with, only without Darius last week against the Broncos, and then this week with 29%. I mean, and when the guy is switched on, I mean, he can impact the football game. He can really impact the football game. And I'm sitting here hoping he can. I'm hoping he can give the Bills, but I don't think this regime is going to wait around for him. They're not. People want to pine and moan. You get the calls to WGR still talking about Sammy Watkins. What's Sammy Watkins doing out in LA? They're scoring a lot of points. I mean, he had a couple of touchdowns 2 weeks ago, but one catch, 17 yards last week against Dallas. I mean, I don't know what Robert Woods didn't look like he did anything. I'm not saying that what the Bills have at wide receiver, I mean, even Jordan Matthews is injured, and I'll talk about that in a minute, which really sucks. But I think we tend to overrate and overvalue players the second they put on a Bills uniform. A lot. And we tend to undercut guys. I have to assume right now at this current juncture, and I always do, that these people know a hell of a lot more than I do about football. And you know what? We should all want them to know more than us. We should all want them to know more and have the best interest of the Bills at heart, and not their own self-serving interest or their own underlying, you know, subterfuge reasons for doing things that are ultimately self-serving and not serving the team. Because that's, again, what it's all driven by. And I know this video sounds negative, but it is so amazing when you watch this, when we watch our team, our Bills this year, how well drilled they are, the tackling, the level of compete from kickoff to the when the clock strikes quadruple zeros at the end of the game. Just, I know there was 10 men on the field last week at the last play, but still, the level of just go, go, go. I mean, they had their mistakes, but they were able to weather them and create a lot of their own good fortune too on the other side with turnovers, hustle plays. There were a couple of that would-be fumble, which I thought was a fumble, by the way, by the wide receiver, Nick Williams. I thought that was a fumble. In the prior, there was a strip also. This team is forcing turnovers. They're trying to make their own breaks, which is huge. Trey White being switched on and scooping up that ball when everybody else kind of just slowed up a bit, took it right back. You know, in Denver, where Shady's not going, they're able to bottle him up similar to what they did to Ezekiel Elliott behind an even better offensive line in Dallas, and still finding a way to win, getting turnovers, just getting enough. You know, maybe not just blowing a team out, but still just putting themselves in advantageous positions and keeping the opponent that's on paper better on the back foot and putting the pressure squarely on them. So far, it's really been, you can't knock it. You know, a pass an inch or two in a different place and maybe a catch. This team could be 4-0 right now. It's crazy to say that, but it's the truth. Who would have thunk it? And I know we've seen great starts get turned on their heels before. And I'm not going to say how this one will or will not turn, but I think one thing's clear, that they've all got our attention now. And then we're all going to sit and watch. You know, maybe I'll talk a little bit about the Bengals. They got a big win trying to turn their season around. They're going to be game this week. Bills got to go into their place and play a tough game in Cincinnati. Bills have some injuries, as I alluded to, with, you know, Ramon Humber, who's their leading tackler. Who would have thunk? You know, we released Gerald Hodges, who this regime did bring in. You know, the trade of a Reggie Ragland. That they want their own people, and if they're their own people, what I've gathered is their own people might not be the flashy people, but in their image, that they're going to be the right people. And I from everything, I mean, just from it looking, obviously we're all outsiders, but to look at our team from an outsider's perspective, this team values clearly now from a player acquisition standpoint, they value competitiveness, they value intelligence, toughness, and attention to detail. And guys that want to go in and act the part, play the part, and know their part. And not guys who just, you know, being handed things. Day one starters off the bus. If you guys remember who said that and who it was about. So it's just crazy, the stark difference in the last regime. You know, that maybe the last regime valued, oh, this guy's the talented guy, but maybe he wasn't the right guy. You know, and through all of this has survived Tyrod Taylor. which is crazy to think, because I know I've been very, very critical of him. And in the last couple of weeks, you know, with all the injuries and with all there's been better play out of him after that Carolina game. There definitely has. There was some, either it was keeping Downs going with his legs, you know, noticing him looking down the field a little bit more, hitting a big pass, particularly last week, the one to Clay. There was a couple of missed hits with Zay that I really want to see that connection get going, because I think Zay could be a good player. He's got that in him. You can see it. It's just coming. I think he's just kind of pressing right now. I think he's at that rookie phase where he's pressing. He wants it so bad that he's just pressing. They re-signed Corey Philly Brown today, which I kind of expected. This again, these guys want their own people, and they want to make sure their own people do it the right way. And that another thing is versatility. Philly can double as a punt returner, kick returner. He can play slot. He can play outside. These guys value that. And I think they value it across the board. Well, from wherever you play, if you're the 53rd guy or you're the first guy, it's what they want. It's why the Tavon Jones is on the roster, and he was kind of a dark horse, a guy we all thought would have been released, or Keelan Clay brought in, and look at this. And there's so many things I can go on right now about the secondary play. When is the last time have we seen safeties? I mean, as a tandem, a partnership playing like this. And Jordan Poyer was afterthought by most of us. Even me, I was kind of like, seems kind of like a horseshoe acquisition. I'm it's like, is he going to even make the roster? And I handed him a decent contract. And particularly in the first game, the first 3 weeks, and last week he really didn't pop. There was a couple of pass breakups in the middle of the field, but obviously Micah had the two big interceptions, and he really flashed. It's just wow, just Trey White looks like a veteran out there. It's crazy. Like, even EJ Gaines, he's been dinged in a few of these games. Hopefully he'll be ready to go this week, because they're going to need him against those receivers that Cincy rolls out. And it's just again, it just shows you, it just goes to show us that they know what they want. They know how to identify it and articulate it and go out and get it in terms of a player. And I hope that is across the board. I know McDermott's a defensive coach. I've seen some better things. I know it's very easy to be critical of play callers and stuff. And we've seen some better things, some more creativity from Dennison. There's been some stagnant moments, but given what's going on, they haven't really got that running game going yet, and that is the engine we all know that's the engine that drives this offense, is that running game. And Shady hasn't really truly popped off yet. He got it going in that first game against the Jets, but last week against the Falcons, you saw it, that big one that got called back for a penalty. It was like a 25-plus yarder. You could just tell that he's ready to jump off the page. Let's hope that starts this week, and that can really just kind of mitigate the loss of Jordan Matthews, which and he's been playing well. Caught a touchdown last week. Seems to catch a big pass every game. He doesn't have the glut of pass receptions and yards, but he seems to catch a big pass every week. So, and this offense looks like it's really tight end running back centric in terms of receiving, to be honest with you. A couple other guys that the Bills brought back, seems like a revolving door for Trey Elston on the roster. Sure, they released Robert Blanton, who had a cup of coffee with the team. He was on the team last year, got injured. He wasn't part of this regime, but it was weird to see him brought back. Not a bad guy. Went to Notre Dame. He must be a smart kid. I know they value smarts, and he's pretty versatile as a safety. not the best. I guess this team seems really intent on trying to find a third safety. They're really churning that third safety. I think they tried to look at Elston. I think Elston's going to they're going to just try to isolate him on special teams and not play him in the base defense, even though he had a big hit in the preseason. He had a couple little flash moments, and Shamarko Thomas is the other guy, so maybe they see what they can, get out of him for a week or so. If maybe he sticks, maybe he doesn't. The bye week is coming, so that tends to be a time teams really look to see what they're going to do with their bottom third. So here it is, Bills fans. I mean, they could potentially go into a bye week 4-1, and that'll be a blissful 2 weeks. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Don't want to get ahead of myself talking about that, but it's something to think about. So let's see what happens. Couple of players that I think maybe they might potentially look at this week. I know they put in a claim for Will Ty, who just recently got waived by the Jets. They weren't really using him a lot. They've gone heavy with Austin Seferian-Jenkins, and they're more of a 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver. And I know they use Austin as they split him out sometimes. They put him in line, but I don't think that and I know they put in a claim for Will Ty. So maybe, with the injury to Matthews, the fact that the offense is tight end centric, they could go in, try to see if they can claim him again if he's subject to waivers. I think he is. I know the order's reset now. The Bills being 3-1, they're kind of down in the pecking order. Another guy, Jeremy Cash, he's kind of a hybrid safety linebacker type. He was in Carolina last year. Versatile, plays a lot of different roles. With Ramona Humber's injury, maybe they go in to just give a little look, just add depth. Who knows? But we'll see, Bills fans. I know this video's been a little long. We're at 22 minutes right now, so yeah, it's crazy to think about. And once they swept away all that old stain, that old stench that I made a video about years ago, about tearing the house down after Marone walked out the door. And I just said to myself at that point, something's not right here. I'm not saying Marone is the most up-and-up character, and I know he had his own. Another guy, he was a vestige of Russ Brandon, who's nothing but a vestige of Ralph Wilson. It's just a long chain of dysfunction. And something's not right when you have coaches just quitting. They're just walking away. Something's wrong. And you've seen just the little things, the Derek Boyko coming in as the PR guy, and just the newfound respect that the local Bills media have for the Bills organization now, and the way they're treated, and the things I've heard, that the way that they're respected now. And you see the in-house media, particularly him, they're plugging these articles now by the Buffalo News and the WGR guys, and they're giving them props, and that never used to happen under Berchtold. Never, because they wanted the in-house guys to have exclusivity. There's no way. You see, the Biscaglia, Joe B giving McDermott interviews and whatnot. All this kind of stuff. It's like that never was happening. So that just goes. There's little things to show us that there's different. There's a lot of different stuff, and it doesn't seem like a lot. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. It really is. But ultimately, the product on the field is what rules the day. And it's 3-1 so far. And, yeah, who would have thunk it? Giants are winless. Bills are 3-1. Anybody had to bet the farm prior to the season, you would have bet the other way around. But like I tell a good friend of mine, Eric, that's why you got to play the games, man. We're so in love with playing fantasy football games on paper now, and prognostication. We just gotta play it. There's just too many moving parts of football. It's not like baseball where there's this intrinsic one-on-one battle that goes on. that's woven into a team game. It's not like that. It's all those parts are moving in concert with each other, controlled chaos to the extreme. So we'll see how this goes. Um, I'm floored. I'm still in shock that they won these last two games, particularly last week. But these last two games, quality wins, and to see this team stack quality wins with the perception this team has had for so long, just being an also ran in the league, it feels good. And I'm not gonna hate on them winning and talk about draft pick. I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna shit on it like that. And I hope nobody else is shitting on it like that either. You gotta, see what happens. All right, guys. I've talked enough. Have a good rest of the week. We're at Wednesday, and a few more days we'll see a Bills game. So you guys have a good rest of the week. Stay safe. Stay sound. And enjoy. Hope you like, subscribe. If not, comment, blame me, cheer me, whatever you want to do. It's all good. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys.